Really excited to talk to everyone today. This is the beauty of these partner webinars, is we really get to hear about what other organizations are doing. And there is so much opportunity for collaboration and networking and working together. So it's always so wonderful to hear about what other organizations are doing. So I so appreciate this. Lots of familiar faces on this call and lots of new ones as well. So since I presented last time, I definitely have some updates from the world of the Jewish Teen Funders Network, but also want to give a good background about what we are, what we do, and what the field of Jewish teen philanthropy is. So first of all, we're going to go over who we are. What is Jewish teen philanthropy? I think even a bigger question, why Jewish teen philanthropy? What makes it useful to you? How is it something that you can incorporate into what you're doing already within your program or your organization? Some of our best programs are in collaboration with other things that are already happening in your host organization. These programs don't often live in a silo. They really interact with everything that is happening in your community. We're going to look a little bit about multi-year programming and lots of different uses for the program and how you can build that onto what you already have. A little dive into Jewish values. They are a huge piece of our curriculum and what we do, and they are the backbone to our program. So a little bit more about that. We have a really exciting news about our upcoming curriculum and some events that are coming up as well. And then we'll have a little bit of time for some questions. So firstly, who are we? So JTFN, the Jewish Teen Funders Network, we exist to strengthen Jewish engagement and identity through supporting and elevating the field of Jewish teen philanthropy. Jewish teen philanthropy comes in lots of different shapes and sizes, which we will talk about a little bit later in the presentation. But we achieve this wonderful mission in 4 ways. So we set field standards and we create tools. We provide resources, training, and networking for professionals. We mainstream the idea of philanthropy into the teen experience. And we also serve as a catalyst for new programs. So serving as a catalyst for new programs is a little bit like this. We talk to people. We try and understand different communities and organizations and seeing where a program like this could fit. We also have an incubator where we started brand new programs. And then something else which is very big for us at the moment is creating new tools and setting field standards. And I'll talk a little bit about that coming up. So I guess now the big question, what is Jewish teen philanthropy? So Jewish teen philanthropy is really guided by Jewish values and teens allowing themselves to explore what their own identity is so that they can make a difference through hands-on tzedakah and strategic philanthropy. So there are generally 3 buckets that we put our programs into. Our biggest bucket, and the one that we spend a lot of time and attention on, are our teen foundations. So it is pooled money, a little bit like a giving circle, but it might not necessarily come directly from the teens, like a giving circle where everyone contributes, because the money might be pieced off already from a foundation or a federation, but there is a pool of money. And there is collective giving. There is a decision about collectively where that money is going to go. We also have individual giving programs, which are sometimes known as B'nai Tzedek programs. And they are more like individual giving, a little bit like a donor advised fund. We find a lot of programs actually do a combo of the two, of the teen foundation model and the individual giving. And then our third bucket is what we call spark programs, which could either be just like a beautiful spark one-off program that just inspires something, or it can lead to a bigger commitment later on, depending on the host organization. So these might happen at camps, they might happen in day schools, if you're creating a one-off, one-day experience. They can also serve as pipeline projects. So some of our programs do a Spark program for the younger grades, which then lead to the bigger teen foundation programs when they're older. So we have a little asterisk here because I use the word simulates here, where it simulates a foundation board. But actually, I'm putting a little asterisk because it's for realsies. There's nothing make-believe about this. Teams are making real decisions about a lot of money. And so I could say, oh, it's like what the adults do on a foundation board, but actually it's the same. They are taking on that level of responsibility to make sure that they give away the money in the most responsible, meaningful way possible. So the Jewish, the teen, and the philanthropy are kind of three areas of what we do and what makes up our curriculum, our resources, how we conduct our programs. So the Jewish piece, that kind of knowledge of Jewish text, Jewish values, what does it mean to be Jewish? What does it mean to be a Jewish giver? The teen bit, so the target group for this is teens, mainly high schoolers, but also the mitzvah age and up. So really offering the professionals the skills to work with teams effectively. And the philanthropy piece, understanding what is grant making, what are nonprofits, what is all the jargon that we need to know about the nonprofit sector, so we can make the decisions, you know, in the most responsible way. And the sweet spot kind of lives in the middle. And we know that in every single exercise or activity, you might not hit all those three areas in equal measure, but overall, we want there to be some sort of overlap between those three. And I think it's important to note at this stage that a lot of our work, our end user is the teen who is going through the experience. But a lot of our work as the network, as the Jewish Teen Funders Network, we're working with the professionals. We are training and helping and offering resources to the professionals who are working with the teens. So using this rubric, the Jewish, the teen, and philanthropy, is a very useful way to us to help train and mentor those professionals or those host organizations to make sure that the program is really accessible and valuable and valued in the community. So I have a couple of lovely quotes about philanthropy in Judaism, but there is one that I particularly want to draw attention to because it's our favorite. So this wonderful piece of text from Sanhedrin talks about what makes up a community, what is important to have in a community. And they couch it as if a Torah scholar is going to go and work in a community, what needs to be in place? What systems need to be in place that show that it is a great, working, thriving community? And the things listed, I guess, seem pretty predictable. We've got a synagogue, public bathrooms, we have a teacher, a butcher, a kosher butcher. But one of the most interesting parts of this is this bit here. A charity fund for which monies are collected by 2 people and distributed by 3. What is that? That is a fund. That is a foundation. That is grant making. It is a collective decision about money and what happens to it. And what's the most fascinating thing about this quote is it's not money from 2 people distributed by those 2. There's actually an extra voice in this. It is money from 2 people, but distributed by 3. So there is someone involved in the decision-making process who can be impartial. There is someone who actually has not given some of that money. And that really shows the power of collective giving and why we really see the grant-making model as so effective and important for many different ways that we are going to go into a little bit. So our programs happen in all kinds of host organizations, camps, federations, day schools, JCCs, synagogues, you name it. And programs come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, whatever works for the community. The general structure of a program is similar. So this is kind of an example of like a full flowing program. Knowing that depending on the host organization, it might look a little bit different. But the idea is that you have a group of participants, whether they've applied or maybe it's a class in a day school, however those teams are chosen or they're self-selecting, through this kind of overarching idea of teen leadership opportunities that might be available if there's a multi-layered program. The teens come together and they really do a Jewish values and text clarification of some kind. And this will happen throughout the program. It might come at the beginning, it might come more in the middle. I'll talk a little bit about our new curriculum because that kind of really introduces different ways to structure that. And then the teams make a mission statement. What area do they want to help? Do they want to help the homelessness? Do they want to help addiction? Do they want to help the elderly? Whatever it is, they make their mission statement. They learn all about nonprofits and grant making and what is happening in their area and what is happening globally, depending on what their focus is. They might do some fundraising if that is part of their program. They send out requests for proposals. They send out real requests for proposals into the world. They get real proposals back from organizations who want to apply for the money. They do site visits, or maybe they get visiting speakers, depending on their capacity. And then through consensus building, they make a decision and they give away the money. And then there might be some celebration and sharing at the end. So in one of our bigger cross-communal organizations like a federation, it might look a little bit like this. So, you know, there might be an application process because it's cross-communal, so you want to have teams from all over applying. They'll probably go through like most of the areas in our in the flow diagram. Team leadership opportunities is a maybe. It really depends on if they have a multi-year structure or not, whether they can bring older teams back as mentors. So lots of variables there. So in a day school, there might not be an application process because there might be a class. There might not be leadership, extra leadership opportunities, again, very much based on the structure of the school. But there'll still be some sort of mission statement process. They might still learn about nonprofit and grant making. There might not be fundraising. They might not send out official requests for proposals, but they're still making those granting decisions. At a camp, we know camps work very differently. They work in this beautiful 7-week-long bubble. So again, they might not have an application process, although they might have an internal one. But again, they're still doing that Jewish text clarification, creating their mission statements. Fundraising comes into a question mark, whether they send out requests for proposals, whether they can do site visits, might not work within the camp structure, but again, they are still making their decisions through consensus and making their grant decisions. And a one-off program, a one-off Spark program might look very different. Maybe they're just doing the 2 key pieces, the Jewish text, which then informs their mission, and then the consensus and the granting. So looking at all these different options, it's very clear to see that it is a very flexible program and it is whatever works for you within your own community. And we've seen this work in several different ways. I think what's also really great is actually someone who was on this last call found out about one of these programs and was actually incorporating it into a program they already had, which was largely a volunteer program. And actually this dovetails beautifully into existing volunteer programs because there are so many overarching and overlapping areas of content. So a question we often get asked, so I might as well answer it now, is funding. Where does this pool of money come from that you're granting? There are a couple of different ways where that money can come from. One is program fees. So maybe if a teen is opting into doing the program and they pay a little bit of money to do the program, some of that money can be portioned out to then put into the granting pool. Fundraising. Teams sometimes do their own fundraising. A lot of our programs fundraise a lot. The teams do it all themselves and they fundraise a lot of money. More and more now, it's on like online platforms where they each have a page and it all dovetails into their overarching organization. And they raise the money and they use social media to get some traction and they raise the money that way. Some organizations have an endowment. So there's a pool of money ready every year for the teams to give away. And sometimes there are individual funders in your community who say, I really believe in this program and I would like to give a little bit of money so that the teams can decide where it goes. So I think a big question here is why? Why Jewish teen philanthropy? And there are lots of benefits to Jewish teen philanthropy. A huge piece is Jewish identity building. the Jewish values exploration. Who am I? What do I care about? What are the priorities in my giving? I can't possibly give everywhere. There are too many wonderful causes that I could help. You know, where are my priorities? The concept of Jewish giving. Why is it Jewish to give? What makes you a Jewish giver? How does that come into play in other areas of our life? Continued involvement in the Jewish community. Kids stay involved. If you have a multi-year program, the kids might be coming back year after year, but generally we're seeing that teens who do this program continue to be involved in some way with their Jewish community, or with giving, or with tzedakah. So it's not just for the year that you might be doing the program, it has a much longer lasting impact. And actually we're going to be releasing a long-term impact study in the coming months. So good to look out for that. It's great for outreach. Last year when we did our field-wide survey, 73% of the programs were engaging a teen who was unengaged. So most of our programs, there are the kids there where this is the only Jewish thing they do. So it's really key for outreach and opening doors for teens who might not connect with other areas of Judaism, but this is really that open door for them. Lots of opportunity for leadership opportunities. There is real responsibility here. The teams are giving away real money. Multi-year programming is also another way to do that. And also we've seen that some of the teens in this program, depending on the host organization, will also go on to be teen members on their adult boards. So they get to be full voting members on an adult board of a foundation or a federation. This, I think, is incredibly appealing to any prospective host organizations, is a deeper understanding of the host organization. If this program is happening in a federation, what does it mean to be part of a federation? What is the federation doing? What are the agencies that are associated with that federation? How is money used? If this is based in a synagogue, you know, how does the synagogue manage its money? Why is it important to consider all these different programs when putting together a budget? So it allows the teams to really get that inside look at Jewish organizational life. So much skill building, public speaking, being analytical, asking questions, being professional, working as a team, coming to consensus. The lists are endless. And granting money. They're making a difference in the world. They are actually giving away money to a cause that they feel passionately about. And it can also lead to some volunteering, because if there is an organization that you particularly like, that you granted money to, maybe you want to delve a little deeper as well and add to that and volunteer for them as well. So just to flash up quickly on the screen, because I don't want to go over my time too much. This was our study that we released. This was kind of our overarching demographic study that we did last year. If anyone would like a copy of this, it is on our website. Also happy to email it through, but there are some great facts and figures in this. Also have some lovely quotes from teens who've done programs like this. I think this particularly is a lovely one, because the teen says, "I will fully stand in support of my beliefs by making my voice and other voices heard." And I just think that's really beautiful. It's about how does this experience make us into better people, and how can we make a really positive effect on the world? And not just us, the teams. This is teams making a really positive impact on the world. And this teen says they felt like their voices were heard and they could make a difference. I just think that's particularly beautiful. So just a little word about multi-year programming. We have actually someone on this call who does beautiful multi-year programming in their teen philanthropy program. There are lots of different ways you can do it. You can have a first-year board, a second-year board who maybe has like a different focus area, maybe then a third-year board who comes back as leaders to help the first-year board. That could be one model. You could split it up into grades. Maybe 9th grade do one thing, 10th grade do the next, 11th grade do the next, so you can make it by grade. Or you could maybe have like just 2 smaller groups where you have 2 first-year cohorts, because there are a lot of kids, and sometimes it's nice to stick it to the like 20 teens per group because of the consensus building. So maybe you have 2 parallel groups running. So there are lots of ways to make this a multi-year experience. Some of them just do it for 1 year, but there are lots of options to dovetail and build. We've been speaking to some organizations where in the first year they do volunteering with their group, and in the second year they delve into the team philanthropy piece. So there are ways that you can kind of pan that out as well. So I mentioned a little earlier about Jewish values. Jewish values are a huge piece of what we do and within our curriculum. And a lot of the groups use it as a guiding force to pick their mission statement. And I just wanted to highlight this wonderful list of 7 values, which came out of our brand new curriculum, which is called Changemakers. It's going to be available very soon for you to purchase. And these 7 values we saw as being really key to the process, not just because they underpin the process and there are elements of all these values as a team going through the process, so like quite meta, but also it informs their decision on where they might give or where they might put their mission statement. So we picked these 7 values as responsibility, preservation, human dignity, service, loving kindness, hope, and justice. So a very hopeful and positive spin on what this program can achieve and how it can really influence the teams and the professionals doing this work. So I mentioned the curriculum. We have this brand new wonderful resource, which is our Changemakers curriculum. You can see it there in the picture. We also have a couple of wonderful tools that go along with it. One is a philanthropy deck of cards, which includes justice issues, so causes that you might want to work towards. We have those 7 values, and then we also have mitzvot. So that all ties in together, those 3 sections. And you can see that also on our philanthropy compass, where we have those 3 different categories laid out on different parts of a wheel with a spinner. And there are lots of different ways that you can use the cards and the spinner in conjunction with each other to create games, resources, and they support the curriculum as well. You can see there are pictures here of some of our group leaders using the resources. And then this year, we had our very first facilitator training. This was in conjunction with M². This was an opportunity for the program leaders to really train and work with the new curriculum and see how it can work in their own organizations and how to make this great new curriculum work for them. So this was our first. This is not going to be our last facilitator training. So please be on the lookout for any regional or national facilitator trainings that are going to be happening in your area. Really worthwhile. It was a three-day experience, and it was fantastic. Another opportunity coming up, we do a conference every other year normally, but what we're doing this year, which we're very excited about, is we are doing a one-day conference, a one-day mini conference. It is coming up in March the 24th, and it is in Palm Beach Gardens. So if you're on the East Coast and you're fed up with the cold weather, come join us in Florida. It is going to be, I know that some people on this call have been to other JTFN conferences and understand what we do and understand that what we provide is really valuable and enjoyable. So I really hope that you'll be able to join us for this one-day experience in Florida. Just to give you a little idea of some of the workshops that we're going to be covering. Some of them are very targeted and specific for team philanthropy, and some of them are much broader. Which means that it can apply even if you don't have a program or if you're looking to start one. We have sessions on research and data. We have a session on our philanthropy games using the wheel and the pack of cards that I showed you earlier. But then we also have sessions on dating abuse and knowing the signs, and resilience and mental health, and what does it mean to volunteer as part of your methodology. So both very broad and very narrow, depending on what your preference is. So I really want to extend that invitation here. The website is listed at the bottom here, but also happy to pass it on to anyone who is interested. And then a little plug, we have a new JTFN podcast. It's called Outside the Sadaka Box. We release an episode about once a month, and it is really an opportunity to hear from a really interesting person who talks about either the world of philanthropy or philanthropy education and teen engagement. So we've had 3 episodes so far. Each guest has been really interesting. We've got another couple of episodes coming up. You can listen anywhere you like listening to your podcasts. We are on all of the platforms, but you can also listen direct from our website. So before we end, I know we only have a couple of minutes and I don't want to keep you too long, but I just wanted to see if there are any other questions at all from the floor.
Please unmute yourself if you have a question.
I'm also happy to chat offline if anyone is interested in learning more or seeing how this program can fit into existing programs that maybe don't touch on philanthropy, but you're interested about bringing that element in.
Just give a shout out to JTFN professionals again for the networking opportunities. As you probably saw, this is Lisa. I'm presenting at the Learning Lab, and always happy to have these connections just blossom.
And I will be at the Learning Lab. I am not getting away from the cold. I am going from the West Coast to the East Coast to spend the day. And I'm extending the weekend, so I'll get a little bit of the Atlantic Ocean and not just the Gulf as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing some wonderful presenters who, when you put that list up, I know several of them, so I'm very excited. And hopefully some other participants who may be on this call or who may be listening to the call as well. And I know I want to give a shout out, if you don't mind, to Robin Paintage, who I know is on this call, who contributed in many different curricular ways to both the JTFN curriculum as well as the Unpacked for Educators curriculum. So it's amazing to see all of these great people, incredibly smart professionals coming together and working together as well. So thank you. I appreciate it. Avi, thank you so much. Danielle, thank you so very much. Thank you everybody for joining us today. This was a beautifully attended partner webinar for us. And continue following us on the Facebook group and everywhere that we are. We look forward to continuing great work together as a teen serving community.
Great. Thanks, Erica.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye, everybody.